Well, conditions very slightly better for our second race of the weekend for Division 2. Mika Mäkinen, who did finish race 1, but albeit in last place, starts on pole position with John Powell alongside. Brad Smith and Steve Powell next, Craig Reed and Adam Bint. John Bowler and Luke Garrett next up, with Trevor Martin joining us, and the retiree from race 1, Eric Forstrom. The BARC officials, quite rightly, again starting the trucks in single file, because although some of the water has dissipated, it is still a very, very tricky surface for them to race on. So we're underway with the remnants of Storm Callum on track, and it's Mika Mäkinen that leads them. It's going to be difficult to beat, isn't he, the reigning champion, from pole position in race number 2, and it's the Sisu that makes a very good start indeed, with John Powell in saying, look how much water there is. You can see, you don't have to take my word for it, there is so much. The way into the track, incidentally, there's over a foot of water on the way into the circuit here, and it's unbelievable how many spectators are braving the conditions today. But they love their truck racing, and they love all of the racing here, whether it's British Trucks, Pickup Truck Racing Championship, the Legends Cars Championship, and the Welsh Sports and Saloons Championship, which comes to a conclusion this weekend as well. And we've got supercars on this weekend as well. So an amazing plethora of Formula racing. Supercars haven't had a chance to get out and race yet, understandably, and their race is being carried forward to tomorrow as we watch Craig Reed trying to hunt down Steve Powell. Reed finishing ahead of Powell in race number 1. So a terrific format for truck racing. It, as motor racing has moved on over the years, organisers trying to keep things as competitive as possible, which is why the reverse grid format has come in, and it really gives the chance for drivers who maybe don't get the rub of the green, as I always say, in a preceding race or in the championship, to start off the front and get their moments of glory. And of course it means that the drivers that maybe have the better set up machinery or have more experience are able to demonstrate their racing skills and their passing skills, because it's one thing being a quick racing driver, but quite another being able to pass and actually race, two very different things which you need to learn. Steve Powell still there at the moment. Craig Reed finished ahead of him, as we said, in race number 1, and having a job to get through here. Powell has had missed a few races this year with non-starts and mechanical problems, but he's had 6 wins, Steve Powell, but for those non-finishes, which really do hurt your points situation. Might have been up with championship leader Luke Garrett, who, remember, he had a superb fight with a couple of seasons ago when Steve Powell was the champion, a former champion Steve Powell. It's Mika Mäkinen out front at the moment. John Powell in second place. Then Brad Smith. John Bowler having a dice with Eric Forstrom in yellow right at the back of shot. Forstrom looking to try and come through on the inside line of the bonneted yellow machine. The bonneted white truck, the Volvo white Aerodyne of Adam Bint, is there as well. Adam, another former champion. So we've got former champion there, Steve Powell. Adam Bint, former champion. Reigning champion Mika Mäkinen in the mix as well. And this year's championship leader, maybe a future champion, Luke Garrett, at this meeting, but not in this race. Garrett non-starting this one. That's going to be a massive dent in the points lead that he has over Brad Smith. So Brad Smith needs as many points as he can get here. John Bowler in 14. That was a superb race for John Bowler in race number 1. Race of the year, from my point of view, for him. Really put the pressure on Luke Garrett as Mika Mäkinen continues to lead this one, with John Powell in second, Brad Smith third, Steve Powell in yellow in 4th place, then Craig Reed, Adam Bint next up. Binty grabbing a podium. And best result so far for Adam this year, 2nd place. Good to see him running in this one. I think the gremlins are being worked out now of that machine. We've got the black and orange mechanical warning flag going out. The meatball flag, as it's known. So somebody somewhere has got a problem. We'll have to maybe have a look at that. We've got some flapping bodywork on the back of Mika Mäkinen's truck, but things relatively settled in this second race of the weekend for the Division 2s. The race programme, the way it's kind of settled down a little bit, the format of the truck racing, because we've got so many trucks now, it's not possible to run all the trucks together all the time. And if you look back at the records or the recordings of what we had a few seasons ago, we had Division 1 and Division 2 trucks on circuit at the same time. But the way the sport's been developed by all of those involved is such now that we've got such big entries, we have to run them as effectively two separate formulae, certainly two separate classes, having track time on their own. Most of the tracks in the country only licensed to run a limited number of trucks, so that we don't have big skirmishes and damage to the exterior of the racetrack, the barriers and such like. So we do have separated, and coming in, Adam Bint coming into pit lane, and we saw a big splash there. I think that might have been for Erik Forsström, who goes off. So this race far from over. Trevor Martin not looking particularly happy. Look how much water there is there. He's coming into pit lane, and that just shows you, in fact, the problem areas here, the back straight, Speedway straight, Carter's curve down into Honda, and Hatchett's hairpin were underwater at the start of the day, and it was 4 or 5 hours. We had a pumping lorry on site trying to pump the water away, which has been used to very good effect as Mika Mäkinen continues to lead this race from the number 6 truck in second place, John Powell. Brad Smith is still there in third. Luke Garrett on one hand is probably delighted not to be out in these conditions, but on the other hand, his championship lead being very slightly eroded away here, and he'll be keen to sort out whatever problems he has to get out for tomorrow's racing. I'll go back to the point I'd started to make, which was about the race format. We do have to split the Division 1 and the Division 2 trucks now. We used to have 5 races a weekend, and that was where the grids were shared between the two classes, but the organisers now putting down Erik Forsström back with us, thankfully, and racing well. The organisers now, with the numbers, having a hard job to accommodate a decent amount of racing for both classes, and we effectively get 4 races for each class over the course of the weekend. The way it pans out at the moment is 2 races for Division 2 on a Saturday and 1 for Division 1, 3 Division 1 races on the Sunday, which tends to be the bigger crowds, and then the remaining 2 races for Division 2. That's the format for this weekend. It'll be the format of Brands Hatch as well in November. Well, things are relatively close up ahead of us as we ride on board with Craig Reed once again, going past that little bit of tarmac, new bit of tarmac here on the right of that shot. Mäkinen coming under pressure here from John Powell, so is Mäkinen's truck losing out again. He's not getting away, the defending champion. His pole position time was mightily impressive at the start of the meeting, but Brad Smith we're on board with. John Powell immediately ahead of us is in second place, and they're piling the pressure on the Finn. Steve Powell is in the mix as well. The battle really more for second place at the moment than it is for the lead, but that could change because Mäkinen is just not getting away at the moment. On board with Brad Smith again. This is the home straight. Visibility not too bad actually at the moment, and Smith in third place. You can see where possible he's keeping out of the spray, goes back into the spray now, and that leaves the door open potentially for Steve Powell in the yellow HGV Direct Dines MAN to try and go through on the inside line. He's got Craig Reed behind him as well. 5 trucks all pretty much together for the lead of this one. John Bowler is in behind trying to close up on them, and then a bit of a gap back to Erik Forsström, Adam Bint and Trevor Martin. Look at that standing water there. It's still the Mad Croc, the defending champion, Mika Mäkinen, out front at the minute, but under a lot of pressure here from John Powell. Amazing that we've only had 1 retirement from the meeting so far, which was Erik Forsström in race number 1. There is Adam Bint. Binty running back at the moment in 8th place and having a lonely time of it, but the racing still very much on out front. Steve Powell looks to the outside line. Brad Smith in front of him. Mika Mäkinen starting to stretch his legs again and beginning to pull away the Finn here as we ride on board with Brad Smith once again, coming down the main straight. He's going to look to the outside line. He'll want to tuck up on the inside as they come into hatchets to try and make the move, but he's going to try and brave it out here. He's making the move. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? Steve Powell will try and look through on the inside line, but Brad here might go for the cutback. Wider line in means maybe faster exit if he can get the cutback on the inside. Just doesn't quite have enough speed out of the corner to pop up on the inside line of John Powell. So Powell holds on to second place with Mika Mäkinen still the race leader from Powell. Brad Smith third, Steve Powell fourth. Then it's Craig Reed who we go on board with here. See the restaurant clubhouse to the right of shot. Through the sweep. This is out of De Benny, sweeping round into the Senna S's. And from there they run down into the Brooklands hairpin, which is where they are now. That's the key moment I remember of a passenger lap I had with David Jenkins many seasons ago here, and all I remember of that, as well as that going into the Brooklands hairpin, was this big runoff that had been carved by one of the trucks going off earlier in the day, and Jake's big grin as he flew the truck around the track. It really is an experience to behold, and there are occasionally opportunities to do that. Heartily recommend it if you get the chance. As Mika Mäkinen goes across the line and onto the last lap, but he's challenged. Has Mäkinen got a problem? Because through goes John Powell. Brad Smith through as well. Mäkinen's truck is having problems again in the closing stages, and he knew that. He kept to the outside line. That was very fair racing from Mäkinen, who's lost loads of places. So it's John Powell now in the lead. John Powell, incredibly, looking for his second win of the season. He's third in the championship. I can't believe he's only had one win. I was sure he's had more than that. But Powell inherits the lead. He'd been hounding Mäkinen for those laps, but he's under pressure, and we had a good battle for the lead in race one, and it's the same again here because Brad Smith's got the whiff of a win in his nostrils here as well. He won't jeopardise the championship points here. 14 points for second place. Steve Powell is in third, then Craig Reed, John Bowler in fifth. We ride on board with Brad Smith once again. The spray is there, the pace is there for Brad Smith. Looks to the outside line. He'll try and take a sweeper through the corner and gain momentum down the straight. Maybe have a look up the inside line. He's got Steve Powell with him as well. They're into Honda corner, which is the last turn. It's going to be John Powell who's going to take the win. Watch for the checker. Powell wins his second win of the year, closing up on Trevor Martin. Powell wins, John Powell that is. Brad Smith second, Steve Powell in third ahead of Craig Reed. John Bowler in fifth from Eric Forstrom, then Adam Bint, Trevor Martin, and Mika Mäkinen a non-finisher.
As well as the racing, I think everybody was really aware of the conditions, so you've got to give each other a fair bit of space, really, to be fair. So, but you know, Mika was unfortunate with the gearbox, but we was all over him for the first time ever, which is quite nice, really. So, yeah,
it must be good to be up there battling out with the defending champion.
Yeah, well, he's up on a bit of a pedestal, really, because you know the truck is very quick, but you know, it was a good bonus, really, because I didn't think we would be anywhere near him. So, really happy with that.